The decision to end the sci-fi cult favorite after 2 seasons has already been made, but why exactly did Netflix execs decide to pull the plug on their mind-bending mystery thriller? Here are a few reasons why we think the OA was canceled. Netflix doesn't release its viewing figures, so it's impossible to say whether the amount of people streaming the OA impacted the decision to axe it. What we do know is that the streamer makes these decisions based on a simple ratio: viewership versus cost. Netflix has confirmed that it adheres to this formula, and according to The Wrap, an insider with the knowledge of Netflix's decision to cancel the drama 2 seasons in has confirmed that the OA fell on the wrong side of the equation. The OA was a big creative swing for the company, the source said, and while it was one that Netflix was proud to take, it just wasn't paying off. In June 2019, Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos reportedly ordered dozens of his TV and movie execs to rein in their spending. People familiar with the high-level meeting told The Information it was made clear that bigger budget projects needed to bring in the viewers going forward. Building buzz and industry credibility was no longer enough. The Netflix business model relies not only on the retention of subscribers, but the steady influx of new ones, and shows like the OA don't help in that department. It was critically acclaimed, yes, but the Netflix metric deemed that it was no longer a draw. As a report by The Information put it, Netflix has learned that the first 2 seasons of a show are key to bringing in subscribers, but the third and later seasons don't do much to retain or win new subscribers. Ending a show after the second season saves money because showrunners who oversee production tend to negotiate a boost in pay after 2 years. Understandably, this approach isn't popular with producers, especially those running shows designed to be told over multiple seasons, like the OA. One creator of a Netflix show that was axed after 2 seasons alleged, "It's really hard to get Netflix to put money into a 3rd season. For a creator, you want to be able to reward your audience with more seasons." She's Gotta Have It, American Vandal, and Friends from College, all canceled in 2019, also only got 2 seasons. Netflix has denied that this is a new policy. On the surface, the OA is your typical binge-worthy Netflix show, teasing viewers with glimpses of what's to come in order to keep them rooted in their seats for hours on end. That relationship between show and viewer only functions if the build-up to those glimpses is satisfying enough in its own right, however. And in the case of the OA, it was very much a one-sided relationship. Simply put, the OA required viewers to sit through hours of speculative twists and turns for ultimately very little payoff in return. Questions were answered with questions that led to yet more questions. While traditional TV networks may be willing to churn out endless episodes of a show based on mystery alone, much like ABC's Lost, Netflix isn't going to continue to fund a show that loses people's interest before they get to the payoff. The OA isn't for everybody. It's wildly imaginative and incredibly well executed, but its mysteries are often a bit too impenetrable. Part 1 ended with a school shooting thwarted by, for the sake of clarity, what we'll call interpretive dance. One character swallows a sea anemone during a near-death experience, in the same episode in which another character swallows a bird given to her by an angel with Braille on her face. The OA Part 2 is equally weird, and for some critics, it just went too far. According to IndieWire's Ben Travers, Part 2 doubles down in a longer, more pretentious, and less vigorous follow-up season that's part puzzle box, part romance, and wholly insane. If there's one single moment in Season 2 of the OA that seemed to push people over the edge, it's when Brit Marling's original angel meets a telepathic octopus. Yes, a telepathic octopus. We had already been through a whole lot of craziness by the time the show's protagonist encounters this creature whose name, by the way, is Old Night.
I hold hope for your species.
But he holds hope for our species.
This extraordinary octopus communicates with revelers at a packed nightclub via our dimension-traversing hero. And it was simply too much for some viewers. Even ardent fans of the show were left utterly perplexed by what they had witnessed. And in true OA fashion, answers weren't exactly forthcoming.
What is this? Just too lights, bro.
One of the biggest issues with the OA is that it seemed to be catering almost exclusively to a cult audience. The show built up a dedicated following after its first season, and rather than trying to expand that following by making Season 2 a little more accessible to new viewers, the OA seemed to lean even further into the weirdness. The result was the second season that isolated anyone that didn't have the patience for telepathic octopuses and dancing robots. And isolating potential customers isn't part of the Netflix business model. Could the fact that the OA pandered to its fandom a little too much have been a factor in Netflix pulling the plug? According to Slash Film's Joshua Meyer, the show seemed to take pleasure in the fact that it created an exclusive club for people who were willing to go along with whatever it threw at them. Meyer wrote in his review of the OA Part 2, "It gathers fans around itself in a candlelit attic and seeks to regale them with a tall tale. The show has big ideas, but its characters are all too quick to chase magic mirrors on blind faith. If you're invested in those characters, then you might be willing to drink from the same pitcher of Kool-Aid that they do. Could co-creators of the OA, Brit Marling and Zal Batman-Glige, already be working on another project for Netflix? Their first show might be done, but the language that Marling used when she took to Instagram following news of the OA's cancellation seemed to suggest that something else could be in the pipeline. The actress and producer posted, "We feel profound gratitude to Netflix and the people we have worked with there for making it possible to make Part 1 and Part 2. While we cannot finish this story, I can promise you we will tell others." Those other stories could well be told via a different platform, but Netflix's statement on the matter also suggested that their relationship with Marling and Batman-Glige wasn't over. Cindy Holland, vice president of original content for Netflix, said in a statement, "We are incredibly proud of the 16 mesmerizing chapters of the OA and are grateful to Brit and Zal for sharing their audacious vision. We look forward to working with them again in the future in this and perhaps many other dimensions." There's no denying that Marling is a huge talent with more to offer, and the dark flair that Batman-Glige brought as director of the OA didn't go unnoticed. Here's hoping this darling duo works together again soon and gets to see their wild visions play out in full. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.